What was meant to be a peaceful spa visit turns into a moment of shock when Margaret is turned away due to her modest attire. As she leaves quietly, her husband Richard Caldwell arrives, unannounced and filled with anger. The spa staff soon finds out that the poorly dressed woman they dismissed is the wife of the owner of the entire spa chain. Richard's confrontation leaves the receptionist, Brianna, speechless, forcing her to reckon with her actions. Can the staff redeem themselves, or has the damage already been done? The unexpected twist will leave you questioning how far kindness should truly go. But before we dive in, leave a comment and let us know where you are watching from today. And if this story speaks to you, hit that subscribe button for more amazing stories. In the serene reception area of the prestigious Crystal Waters Spa, the receptionist, Brianna, stood behind a polished marble counter, her manicured nails tapping softly on the glass surface. The spa was a sanctuary of luxury, known for its exclusivity and services tailored only to the most affluent. The faint scent of lavender wafted through the air, mingling with the soft instrumental music playing in the background. It was an ordinary afternoon when the glass doors swung open, and a woman in her early 40s stepped inside. She was dressed in worn-out jeans, a faded sweater, and scuffed shoes. Her hair was tied back loosely, and her face bore the marks of a long, exhausting day. The woman, whose name was Margaret, approached the counter, her eyes scanning the spa's menu with interest. Brianna's eyes narrowed as she took in Margaret's appearance. With a forced smile, she leaned forward. "May I help you?" she asked, her tone dripping with condescension. Margaret smiled politely. "Yes, I was wondering if I could get a deep tissue massage. It's been a rough week, and I could really use some relaxation." Brianna's smile never reached her eyes. She glanced at Margaret's clothes once more, her gaze lingering on the faded fabric. "I'm afraid we are fully booked for today," she said, her voice cold. "Our services are also quite exclusive. Perhaps you might find something more suitable elsewhere." Margaret's face fell for a moment, but she nodded, not wanting to make a scene. "Oh, I see. Thank you anyway," she said softly, turning to leave. As she walked out, Brianna and her colleague shared a smirk, their laughter barely concealed. Margaret stepped outside, feeling a mix of embarrassment and disappointment. She reached into her bag, pulling out her phone. She hesitated for a moment, then dialed a number. The call was picked up almost immediately. "Hi, darling," Margaret said, her voice wavering slightly. "I tried to get a massage at Crystal Waters, but they turned me away. They said they were fully booked." There was a brief pause as she listened to the voice on the other end. "No, it's okay, really. I just thought I'd let you know." She forced a smile, though no one was there to see it. "I love you too. See you soon." Margaret hung up, unaware of the storm she had just set in motion. Back inside the spa, Brianna was adjusting the flowers on the counter when the glass doors opened once more. This time, a tall man in his late 40s strode in, his presence commanding the attention of everyone in the room. He wore a tailored suit, his shoes polished to perfection, and his expression was one of barely contained anger. Brianna's eyes widened as she recognized the man, Richard Caldwell, the owner of the entire Crystal Waters spa chain. She quickly straightened, her face turning a shade paler. "Mr. Caldwell," she stammered, her smile now genuine but nervous. "We weren't expecting you today. How can I help you?" Richard's gaze was icy as he approached the counter. "My wife was here earlier," he said, his voice low but filled with authority. "She was turned away. Would you care to explain why?" Brianna's face flushed. She opened her mouth, but no words came out. Her colleague, standing a few feet away, seemed to shrink into the background, not daring to intervene. Richard continued, his voice growing louder. "You see, my wife wanted a massage. A simple request. And yet, she was turned away because of how she looked? Because you assumed she didn't belong here." His eyes bore into Brianna's, who was now trembling slightly. "Sir, I thought—" Brianna began, but Richard cut her off. "You thought wrong. My wife deserves the same respect as any other guest who walks through those doors, if not more." He took a deep breath, trying to calm himself. "You see, it's easy to be polite when someone looks the part, isn't it? But true character is revealed when you treat everyone with dignity, regardless of appearances." Brianna swallowed hard, her eyes downcast. The other guests in the reception area watched the scene unfold in stunned silence. Richard turned, gesturing towards the door. "Now, I suggest you find my wife, wherever she may be, and bring her back here. She will receive the best treatment this spa has to offer, and you will personally ensure that she is comfortable. Do I make myself clear?" "Why, yes, Mr. Caldwell," Brianna stuttered, her face flushed with shame. She grabbed her phone, hurriedly calling Margaret, her voice almost desperate as she apologized and begged her to return half an hour later. Margaret walked back into the spa, her expression uncertain. Richard immediately went to her, wrapping an arm around her shoulders. "I'm so sorry, darling," he said softly, his earlier anger replaced with tenderness. "I wanted today to be special for you." Margaret smiled, her eyes glistening. "It's okay, Richard. I didn't want to cause any trouble." Richard shook his head. "You deserve the best, always." He turned towards Brianna, who stood by, her head bowed. "Brianna will take care of you personally. She will ensure everything is perfect." Brianna nodded quickly, her demeanor completely transformed. "Mrs. Caldwell, please allow me to escort you to our VIP suite." I apologize for the misunderstanding. It was entirely my mistake." Margaret looked at Brianna for a moment, then smiled gently. "Everyone makes mistakes. Just remember, it's important to treat everyone with kindness. You never know their story." Brianna's eyes welled with tears as she nodded. "Yes, ma'am. I promise I will." As Margaret was led away to enjoy her long-overdue day of relaxation, Richard watched, his heart swelling with pride. He knew that his wife, dressed in her modest clothes, without any airs or pretensions, was more deserving of respect than anyone else he had ever met. And in that moment, the staff at Crystal Waters Spa learned an invaluable lesson, that true luxury wasn't in the marble floors or the plush robes, but in the way people were treated, with respect, dignity, and kindness, regardless of appearances.